Okay, can you make $1 million selling on Etsy? That's the question. The answer, yes you can, and yes I have. Hi, I'm Hutchings, and I'm going to show you today how I made $1 million selling on Etsy alone and how you can use my top 5 tips to do the same. All right, before we get started, just a little background on my experience, where I'm at, why I've decided to start doing YouTube videos. So I have been selling online Etsy for 10 years now, a decade, which is crazy, but I have loved it. I love the platform. That can be a whole other video for another time, but one of the things that I have noticed over the past 10 years is I have so many friends, family, people who find out what I do, that I work from home, that I built this business. Again, I wanted to, it's kind of a weird background, but just kind of show you what started off as just a little side hobby of making earrings has grown into a $1 million business with several employees. And I get to, one of the best things about being your own boss is the time, the flexibility. I have 2 little girls, and so that's one of the reasons I have loved Etsy so much, is it's let me work from home while still making a great income, having that fulfillment, the creativity outlet that comes from owning a creative business and running it from my home. If you've been thinking about selling on Etsy for a while, today I'm just gonna share my top 5 tips to hopefully start giving you some of that confidence you need to just do it, just start. Just like with me here on YouTube. We've all gotta start somewhere. I have no doubt that I'm gonna look back at this first video and do a little cringing, like why did I pick this weird industrial looking background? I have no microphone, my lighting is my window, it's fine. Also, for those of you that are like me and like to lean into the numbers a little bit, be sure to stick around after the tips for a bonus where I will share some actual screenshots of what 10 years of Etsy income has looked like, just to give you an example of what is possible on Etsy. The most important thing though is I really do hope that these tips can help you out and just, again, give you that confidence to push you forward, to make the plunge, to start your Etsy business. You can do it, let's get into it. Tip number 1. You have to be willing to list at least 100 items. Okay, now I understand that not everyone agrees with that advice, and that could be true. There are some businesses on Etsy that I have seen that only have, 30 items, 10 items, that seem to be able to do really well. I feel like that is a pretty rare exception, and if you're going to do it a little more like I did, very grassroots, not paying a lot for advertisements and things like that starting out, that having at least 100 items in your shop is gonna it's just gonna give you your best chance for success. There's a lot of reasons behind that. When you're selling on a platform like Etsy, you have to think about it as if it's a storefront. You're trying to attract as many people as you can into your store, and having a lot of items is one of the best ways to do that. So it is important to niche down. You don't want to just sell like a huge hodgepodge in your store. You want to have like a centralized theme so you can know how to target your market, but at the same time offer a variety so that people can actually have a selection. And just especially selling on a platform like Etsy, you've got to be able to compete with millions of other sellers and items. Okay, let's move on. Tip number 2. Photos equal life. This is the tip I tell everyone. If you're starting on Etsy, I know it can seem overwhelming, especially if you don't have a lot of experience in that department. But if you I don't care how amazing, unique, beautiful, high quality your item is, if you don't have a beautiful photo illustrating that, it's not gonna get clicked on, it's not gonna get seen. We can talk about that more a little bit in SEO and what that equates to. But basically, online, people aren't able to touch, feel, see your item in person. They can't see that quality, so your photos just have to reflect that. There's going to be a lot of good tips and tricks out there that you can use. I know Etsy has a lot of resources if you check out like their seller handbook. Again, first YouTube video, but I know at some point I plan to do a video about this. So if you're watching this video this week, go ahead and check out some other YouTube videos and just search for, how to take good photos on Etsy. But if you happen to be watching this 6 months from now, there's a good chance I have created a video on this topic that you can check out as well. How I do my product photography and the things I've learned for best practices on a budget over the past 10 years. All right, tip number 3. This is one of my favorites and I feel like it's so undervalued sometimes, but one of my most crucial pieces of advice I give to people is persistence. You just have to be willing to punch through the hard times. Like sometimes people see what I have now and they think that it's always just kind of been that way. Like the bins, the SKUs, the storage, the systems, like I can't even explain to you what it was like when I started 10 years ago. Like I look back and I don't know how I did it. I didn't have shipping labels. I was going to the post office every day. I didn't have SKUs for my parts. I just kind of had to like remember where everything was and putting it together and inventory, and it was just crazy. But if you can get through, you can't expect to have a well-oiled running machine just starting off. Like it's going to take time, but it is so worth it. If you can just get past the fact that my first year or two, I was working like 80 hours a week as a college student. I didn't have any kids. I was able to do that sometimes during my off tracks or different things like that. But I wasn't making any money. Like everything I made, I was working all this time and everything I made just went back into the business. And my husband and I had just kind of gotten engaged and married right around the time I was starting my business. And I remember him just looking at me like, are you sure you want to do this? You're making like pennies an hour practically when you actually did the math. But now one of my goals here on this channel as well is to hopefully help you to avoid some of that. I was everything learning trial by error. I mean, you just got to think back 10 years ago what the world looked like compared to what it is now with just everything from technology to the internet to search engines. I mean, even the Etsy platform itself was in its baby stages. Etsy's only been around for 13 years, I believe. So we kind of learned and grew together. Okay, tip number 4. It's an acronym known as SEO. Have you heard of that before? If you have, put it in the description. Yes, I know what SEO is. If this is the first time of ever hearing about it, or even if you've heard about it but don't still really understand what I'm talking about, put that in the comments as well, like new to SEO. I would love to make another video about this if this is something that a lot of people watching want to know a little bit more about. I am going to explain it briefly here because it is in my top 5 tips and it's something that's really important. SEO stands for search engine optimization. That means when someone goes to Etsy and types in woman's t-shirt, there's millions of results that are gonna pop up. SEO, search engine optimization, stands for how you title and tag your items so that your woman's t-shirt pops up in one of the first search results that people see on Etsy. Again, I'm not gonna go into a whole lot of detail about this right now, but just the best way I can describe SEO from a very beginning level is thinking like a buyer. So when you go to search for something, if you were looking for a woman's t-shirt, what are some other words that you might use to describe it? Like, are you looking for a soft woman's t-shirt? Are you looking for a red t-shirt? Different things like that. Like, how is the buyer going to describe your item? So Etsy has its own kind of rules around algorithms and things like that that it uses to place you higher in the search result. So you want to make sure in both your title that you're using to describe your item, you're using good descriptive keywords that people are actually searching for, but there's also not a lot of competition for. And again, I'll be posting some other videos about some tools and things I use to help with that. Now for tip 5, I've got customer service. What do I mean by that? So, especially if you're new shop kind of just starting off, if you've had a little bit of traction with sales on Etsy but want to increase that, customer service is gonna be so important because one, not only does Etsy push your items up higher in the search if you have good reviews, but we all know like reviews are becoming such an important part of making a purchase decision, especially if it's from a new shop. But I always lean way more on the side of the phrase that the customer is always right. Like if there is anything ever wrong with your order, I'm gonna let you return it. Like, that's just how I've always run my business. If you look at my reviews on Etsy, you can check out Spotlight Jewelry and Moonlight Supplies and see that I have 5-star feedback. Of course, you're not, every once in a while, you know, things go wrong, you can't make it right, mistakes happen, but I bend over backwards for my customers. One, because that's just the kind of person I am. I like to treat people how I would like to be treated, and I just always assume the best in people. If there is a problem or something that's gone wrong, I'm gonna try everything I can to help fix that. And people appreciate that. Like, you can see it in the reviews. That makes a difference when first starting your Etsy shop. All right, are you ready for the numbers? Okay, I'm gonna show you some screenshots here so you can see how that played out, how that $1 million actually happened between my 2 shops over 10 years. All right, first we're gonna go ahead and take a look at Spotlight Jewelry's numbers here. So you can see this is all time. The revenue is $605,000. This is some of my favorite though right here. So 2010, I made $554, which is still, I feel like, amazing. I was really excited about that when that happened. I was not anticipating that. Again, that's a whole other story. But then we jumped up here, we got 15,000, then 35,000, snuck back down to 25,000 that year, and then we went up to 50, and then we kind of peaked here back in 2015. And it's interesting, this is kind of like what you'll notice with your business. It will definitely ebb and flow. I remember this is, I think, right around the time I kind of started hiring some of my first assistants. I got really excited about my business again. You know, I was like, okay, it's doing good, like maybe we can do amazing. And then, you know, sometimes like life happens and I start, you know, there's babies are born and different things. And so we've kind of like, we came back down and then we've kind of plateaued here a little bit, but just this year in 2020, we are already in just July, which is crazy, almost halfway to last year's revenue. And that is just going to show, we're gonna have an amazing year because Christmas, we usually do about 4 times what we normally do. So this year's looking really awesome as far as sales, and it's directly correlated always to how much time and energy and effort I'm actually putting in to the businesses, if that makes sense. Okay, so we have total $605,000 grossed on Spotlight. Now let's go ahead and check out Moonlight Supplies. Let's click over, this is actually views, and this shows you, so back in 2010 when I first started selling on Etsy, Etsy didn't have statistics. So you couldn't actually see your numbers and traffic and where everything was coming from, again, which is just crazy to me, but also exciting that they've improved their site so much over the years. All right, so in 2010, I made 1,100 starting off for a supply shop. Again, very exciting to me back then, nothing to sneeze about. 2,700, 17,000, 19,000, and then the supply shop just kind of escalated for quite a while. And then the same thing, interesting, I've kind of like tapped out these last couple years here, but then you'll see this year, again, almost the same thing. We are projected to do a lot more in 2020, which is really exciting. And I think also the reason too I decided to start this YouTube channel now, because I just feel like it's the perfect time to be selling on Etsy, to be starting an e-commerce online business. So yeah, I'm just excited to share with you guys how you can continue to grow your own Etsy shops over the years. So there you have it, $1 million worth of sales on Etsy alone between 2 shops over 10 years. Now, here's the interesting thing about finances. I guarantee you there's some people in this video that are like, that's not even that amazing. 10 years, 2 shops, $1 million gross, like meh, which totally understandable. Again, everyone's gonna have different lifestyles, different things that are important to them, meaningful. I actually plan to scale this business even larger in the next couple years, and that's why I also wanted to do a YouTube channel, because I thought, why not take others along that journey with me? So as I'm running a bunch of tests, seeing what works, what doesn't, I'll be sharing those with you guys. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, please remember to just give a little thumbs up, just click the little like button. Also subscribe. I will be posting new videos every week. And the most important, especially first YouTube video ever, please leave me some comments about anything that you would like to know more about on Etsy, or even just growing an online business from your home, especially now during a pandemic. This is the perfect time, I feel like, to do something like this. So feel free to let me know what questions you might have, what I can make videos about to help you on your journey to gain the confidence to be able to start your own business. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you next week.